Hello, beautiful colleagues. Good to see you again. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, it's been a while, and I know this. I've been away. Yes, and I'm back and better now. Thank you for watching those videos, even while I was away. I still get loads of comments, people reaching out for classes. Oh, wonderful people I'm surrounded with. Yeah, you are the real MVPs, and I love you for that. Yeah, thank you so much. And for the new subscribers, I really appreciate you for staying through, because this is not actually the number I left when I was away, but the subscribers kept adding up despite those videos are quite old. But I'm back now, and I promise to be bringing videos at least once in a week. It will be on Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Yeah, just to make things up to us. I hope that is okay. I hope I'm forgiven now. Yeah, thank you so much. It no longer knew that OSCE has added some topics to us. Yeah, so in this video we're going to be talking about the evidence-based practice. So we're going to be talking about one of those three topics that were recently added. So the topic is going to be osteoporosis and exercise. Yeah, it's such an interesting one. Yeah, so with that being said, let's get started. Just like the definition I gave to evidence-based practice, yeah, it is just like what we know as professionals. That's breaking it down now in a more simpler form. What we know as professionals against what the market women, I mean, they against the layman understanding. Yeah, we know, okay, if we do this, it's going to resort to this. But in a layman term, they understand that this is what their forefathers was passed down to them, and it should continue in that sequence. But you as a professional, you're going to tell them, because they want to hear from you, though they know what they know, and that is what they will still do anyways. But then they will still want to seek professional advice to actually compare to what they know. So the evidence-based practice in that context is what is currently acceptable, yeah, away from what our forefathers has passed down to us. That is just a very clear and simple way to understand this. Yeah, so osteoporosis and exercise, it is a new topic actually. So what about it? For evidence-based practice, an article summary is going to be given to you, which you're going to scan through quickly. Of course, this nobody may tell you. Part of the answers that is expected of you is in that article summary, but the constraint is the time. Yeah, because within 10 minutes before you can read, because it's going to be a large article summary. Yeah, it's not just going to be a very small one. Yeah, before you can read through the article summary, coin out those points, 10 minutes would have lapsed. So if any name is mentioned anywhere, you need to include it at any point in time. Very key. Yeah, if any name of a person is included in that article summary, you're going to bring it in when you're putting down your answers. Okay, so about this osteoporosis and exercise, I have read an article about it. So I come out with a similar answers that could help you in your exam. So quickly on your screen, I'm going to be displaying a likely scenario. I am not saying this is going to be the exact scenario for your exam, but this is for educational purpose, right? It could help in a way, right? So let's take a look. So the first thing you should write by default is, you've been given an article summary. So it is expected of you to have read through the article summary and come up with your recommendation. It's going to be in bullet points, mind you. You're not going to number it. No, you're going to be in bullet points, or you put an hyphen before you start writing. And after each paragraph, you leave a space and you write the second one. There will be enough space, trust me, yeah, to do that. So the first thing by default is you should write, I have read the research article summary and I've drawn conclusion. Below are my summary in bullet points. You have not started writing, but this is by default what you should write first. Yeah, the first point, I will explain that osteoporosis is a health condition that weakens bones, making them fragile and more likely to break, and that menopause significantly increases osteoporosis risk due to declining estrogen. Yeah, so it is part, like I said, it is part of what I read from that article summary. And this is the first point. We are meant to understand that menopause plays a significant role in making our bones to weaken due to declining estrogen. Right. The second point, you may write, I will mention that evidence shows that exercise can have positive effects on bone mineral density. Yeah, it is still part of what is in that research summary. Another point is, I will explain that weight bearing and resistant exercise are particularly important for improving bone density and helping to prevent osteoporosis. Yeah. The next point, I will explain that low intensity exercise like gentle walking, yoga, stretching, household chores like dusting requires gentle physical effort. Moderate intensity exercise like brisk walking, dancing, sweeping, vacuuming, slow swimming make your heart, lungs and muscle work harder than light activity. High intensity, that's vigorous exercise now, like jogging or running, fast cycling, swimming laps, aerobics, make your heart, lungs and muscles work hard, requiring you to breathe hard and fast. This is still one of those things I read in the summary. Okay, moving on. I will explain that low intensity exercise used to be traditionally suggested to older adults, primarily to ensure safety, minimize injury risk, but that research suggests that high intensity exercise may be preferential for women with osteoporosis compared to low or moderate intensity exercise. Yeah, it's still part of the valid point that was deduced from the article. Next one, I will explain that any decision regarding intensity or exercise should be discussed with the clinician, that is the patient clinician. Don't just out of your own instincts do what you think, okay, this is what you should do. It should be discussed with the clinician so that you can be properly advised. Yeah. Moving on, I will support to consider the effect of exercise and encourage the patient to use this as a proactive approach for osteoporosis. Yeah, it's still part of the valid point that was deduced from this article. Right. Yeah, that's it. We've got about 7 valid points to write regarding this osteoporosis and exercise. Yeah, it's quite a very interesting one. The article summary was neither here nor there. It was just like in between, as it is saying low impact exercise, low intensity, moderate and high exercise could be beneficial. It still come around to say whichever one you're choosing, make sure it is clinician dependent. Yeah, not your own reasoning only. Yeah, so you should use your discretion just to know what to do. Yeah, so it could be that easy. That is all about osteoporosis and exercise. Yeah, I hope you've learned one or two from this video. Yeah, if this video has helped you, just give it a thumbs up Drop any concern for us. We're going to be addressing it, and share with your colleagues that are preparing to write OSCE. I will see you in my subsequent video. Should you require one-on-one classes, in your OSCE practices, you can reach out to us via the contact displayed on your screen, and we will be more than happy to assist you. Until I come your way in my subsequent videos, keep practicing OSCE. Bye.